guys are good sportsmen.
Hello there, Sister Carly.
Hello there, Steve.
Sister Carly, Sister Joni, and Sister Michelle. I believe we have Sister Michelle joining us now. Make that run successful from the cradle to the grave. Step forward about 1 pace to allow the last of our flock to... Thank you. 1 pace to the left. Snuggle in with your neighbor. Join us, friends. Shall we gather at the river, the dirty, muddy, silty Scagway River? There are no salmon in the river that flows through Scagway town. You don't know these words. We have a weird thing in Scagway, changing the words of everything. Join us, friends. Snuggle in. Everyone step about 1/2 a pace farther to the left. The last of our group to join us. That's it. Join us. Frank Reed, City Engineer of Scagway, Alaska. This is the man who laid out the streets of our town with a survey transit. Straight and true. Reed was from Oregon, a frontiersman, a take-charge dog. But that night, Frank Reed had a 6-gun on his hip, and he'd been told to guard the wharf and not let the outlaws interfere with the meeting. And Frank Reed saw Soapy Smith coming down the dock toward him. Frank had it up to here. Why should we mess around with outlaws any farther? At 10 paces, eyewitnesses agreed that Reed issued a challenge. And as he did, Soapy yelled back with an oath and dropped his Winchester rifle off his shoulder, swinging it like a club, trying to knock Frank off the dock. And that's all the provocation Frank needed. He reached down, pulled the 6-gun clear of the holster, aimed, and pulled the trigger. And that would have been the end of the story. Frank would have fired first. But that's not what happened. The hammer of his pistol fell on a faulty cartridge. No! Reed pulled back on the hammer to get another round into the chamber. As he did that, Smith, who now saw death in Reed's eyes, had exactly enough time to swing the barrel of the rifle back to dead center, grab at the trigger, the train. Both men fired simultaneously. Smith took a round in the heart. He was dead before he hit the dock. Frank Reed took a bullet in the groin that shattered his pelvis. He died 12 agonizing days later, and when he was buried, 2,000 people gathered here for the funeral service. There are about 50 of us. Imagine what 2,000 people would look like. Scagway newspaper said it was greater than the service for President Grant. The next spring, the city put up a great monument that says simply, he gave his life for the honor of Skag. Soapy lay dead on the end of the dock. His body was forgotten in the excitement. The vigilantes, they rounded up all the outlaws, threw them in jail. 12 were sent to Seattle, dead prices on their heads. We should probably turn and wave for the train. Then they'll think we're having a service. I was kidding about that song, didn't you? Good luck. Every trip on that train's an adventure. WPNYR stands for wait patiently and you'll ride. That's exactly right. Soapy's body, I must tell you this. Everybody was so excited rounding up the outlaws, it wasn't until the next day somebody remembered Soapy was still laying on the end of the dock. Nobody had remembered to even go get him. And then nobody wanted to go pick him up until the Reverend John Sinclair from the Union Church, who felt sorry for the dead dictator, he hired a teamster who had a horse and wagon. They went down, picked up the body. They came out and did a brief service. The way of the transgressor is hard. Amen. Let's go. Soapy Smith was actually buried wearing the same outfit he had on, the same suit, that night when he was shot. With one exception to his wardrobe, his tie. He was wearing a white silk cravat, which had a U.S. and Cuban flag embroidered right into the lapels in honor of the Spanish-American War, which was raging in Cuba at the time. Soapy's tie had been splattered with his own blood during the gunfight, and so it had been removed by the coroner. And today, there is a white silk cravat splattered with blood in a glass storage case in the Trail of 98 Museum in downtown Scagway. And over the years, the legend of the outlaw and the hero and the gunfight on the dock have grown. Obviously not as big as other Western legends. OK Corral, Jesse James. Nobody's ever heard of Soapy Smith and a gunfight up in Alaska. But there's a reason for that. None of Alaska's story ever reached the United States. It was too far away. There were too few people here. And so to this day, none of Alaska's story has yet been told. And the biggest gunfight in Alaska is no bigger than these trees. You see, in 1908, we shut down the cemetery here because it was full, except for some family plots used thereafter. Everybody after that year were interned in the new cemetery at the turn of the Dyea Road. But in 1906, a photograph was taken from the top of the cemetery to the railroad tracks that includes the monuments. And in that picture, not one of these trees is grown. All of them have grown up since 1906. Today, they are the tallest in the valley. And they look down on a very quiet place to spend all their time. Except when the train goes by. Or maybe when old Steve does the shooting a Soapy Smith. Ladies and gentlemen on the streetcar, we're going to climb back aboard with Michelle, Joni, and Carly and take you next up to the scenic overlook for a commanding view of the entire harbor and all the ships in the town. All aboard the streetcar! Conductor that's so handsome.
He's watching me captain and slide across.
Oh, yeah.
Remove your umbrella.
What's that? Doing enough room?
Oh, I'm fine.
So how'd you like the rest of that story?
Very good, very good.
Now we know. That's my boss.
No, it's Uncle Bobby.
Yeah, character. Yeah. We work for a husband and wife team, Steve and Gayla Heights. And they're just a fantastic team to work for. And our family, it feels like a family. We all call them Mom and Dad. And there used to just be about 5 of us, and now there's about 30 of us. And they're still maintaining their integrity to work for them. And he's dressed in a black suit with a black bowler cap to look just like our original streetcar driver, Martin Itchen, the Undertaker of Scagway.
Aha!
Cemetery. Yeah.
That's right.
At the
Yeah, Martin Itchen. Well, good. We'll take off now.
We're going to give everybody a real quick geography and a little quick story about wintertime in Scagway. Everybody come on up here. We have our city council elections up here. The loser of the election always gets thrown off. This is Scagway International Airport. The airplane's down below us. They occasionally put up in Scagway when Dewey took Manila. For 4 days, they celebrated at 80 saloons. The last guy standing upright named the last thing you could see after Admiral Dewey. The name stuck. Town's 4 blocks wide, 24 in the Yukon, just 100 miles long. Arctic air on the polar ice cap comes down across the interior 3 weeks without stopping. That's what the natives meant when they called this place Scagway. Terrible, nasty, lousy, terrible, windy place.
We're in the yellow one.
Right here?
Yeah. Hello.
Storage. I'm glad they're still using it. You can walk the ride.
Established in 1899, their motto, there's no boundary line here. As this was an international gold rush, people from everywhere in the whole wide world were headed north to the climb. And no matter where you had come from, by the time you got up here, you were thousands of miles from home. From family, from friends, and you found yourself on the wind swept, rain drenched, beaches of Scagway. 12 Arctic adventurers, very much like yourselves, founded the Arctic Brotherhood, a mutual aid and assistance organization with one requirement for membership. You had to be looking for gold. Everybody up here was looking for gold up the Klondike, but would have come up here otherwise. Everyone could be members. Rooms like this one are where they held their meetings. This building is a recreation of the original clubhouse of the Arctic Brotherhood, designed in April of 1899 by Scagway's most prominent architect, Mr. Maxson. But the building was not built at that time. The club voted to build a smaller building, which they covered up with driftwood over on Broadway Street. 97 years later, the original clubhouse as designed by the architect was built in Scagway. In rooms like this one, the Arctic Brotherhood held community concerts, banquets, dances, and poetry readings for the entire town. Rooms like this were the center of Scagway activity in 1899, and as the gold rush went north, the Arctic Brotherhood was picked up and carried with it to Dawson City, Fairbanks, Nome, Alaska. 30 Arctic Brotherhood Hall buildings were constructed, each one becoming the center of its northern town. But the gold rush has stopped. No new people looking for gold, no new members. The order declined. The last meeting the Arctic Brotherhood held anywhere was the meeting held in Scagway on July 11, 1923, an honorary initiation for the President of the United States, Warren G. Harding. He was brought in and made a member of Camp Scagway No. 1. After that, the Arctic Brotherhood ceased to exist. Until now, I have reorganized the Arctic Brotherhood. I have proposed each of you as members in the order, because I think you're looking for gold. Golden adventures, golden memories, golden opportunities. Because of that, each of you are worthy candidates to join the Arctic Brotherhood. I've already spoken with the committee. They're in complete agreement. There's but one remaining task. You must now pass the initiation. Sing the break. I'm singing conductor. They gave him his orders in Monroe, Virginia, St. Steve, go away at 9 This is not 30, this is old 97, gotta get her at the Spencer on time. Well, turn around and said to his big greasy farm, roll along a little more road. 'Cause when we reached out the wide mountain, well, it was a 97 road. Well, it's a mighty rough road from Lynchburg down to the line on 3 mile grade. It was on that grade that he lost his air brakes. You see, what a junkie he was. He was going down the grade doing 9 miles an hour when the sun began to scream. He was found in the wreck, his hand on the throttle. He was scalded, death by the steam. Hey, Steve! While he was going down the grade doing 90 miles an hour when his whistle began to scream. He was found in the wreck, his hand on the throttle. He was scalded to death by the steam. He was found in the wreck, his hand on the throttle. He was scalded to death by the steam. Ladies and gentlemen, that applause just woke up the President of the United States, Warren G. Harding. He's been sleeping in the ether up on the ceiling up there. Good morning, Mr. President. We have these worthy candidates right here waiting to join the Arctic Brotherhood. But first, you have to mix your voices with the other Arctic brothers and sisters over the years singing on the Arctic Brotherhood initiation song. You all know the words. You've been singing this probably since you were about knee-high to a sluice box. So sing along and join the Arctic Brotherhood. The song goes like this. home between Fairbanks and Nome, where the roots and the caribou lay, where nothing will grow because it's covered with snow from June until the following May. Home and home in the snow, where it's mild but it's only 40 below. It's the tundra for me, by the old bearing the steam and the life of an old sourdough. Give yourself a round of applause. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Grand Camp number 1 of the AV. And now, as you travel around the world, tell everybody you meet, you're members of the Arctic Brotherhood. You joined in Scagway. Back to their good friends, tell them our secret. Our secret? Gold is where you find it. And I hope every single one of you find a little gold on your own personal Alaskan adventure, whatever that may be. So I'll tell you, during my very brief 25 years of adventuring up in this country, I have discovered there are so many golden stores in Scagway, Alaska. We haven't even started digging them all up yet. In fact, the story I have next for you is visual. We call this the Scagway story. We're going to put the faces up on the wall to go with the names that you hear when you visit this town. Captain Moore, founder of Scagway. Sophie Smith, the evil outlaw. And then we'll introduce you to 5 Scagway pioneer families, friends of ours, who have lived here since the Gold Rush. People always ask us, they say, what do you people do in this town? After you've seen their story, you'll have a pretty good idea. When we're finished with the show, you folks on the streetcar tour would like to ride back to the dock. The streetcars will be parked out front to whisk you immediately back to the waterfront if you so desire. If you would like to walk, it takes about 10 minutes. If you would like to spend time, shop, or explore Scagway, the town knows you're all in here. They've been waiting for you since last October to get up here. There are shuttle buses. They say shuttle bus all over. They're running in circles all day long. They load right across the street from us over here, and it costs $1 a person. They run all day long while there's even one ship. That's how you get around all day long on your own. Because remember, you're now members of an Alaska club. So go back outside and tell them down there about Scagway. Remember, we're all friends of the Arctic brother and sister. But once you leave the safety of our town, you will all go back out there in the cold, cruel world once again, where Sophie Smith could be anywhere. Ho for the Klondike! Stick to the trail and mush on! Thank you.
They posed with their sled dogs on the way to the gold fields. They killed their pack horses by the thousands, driving them to death in a mad rush to get over the passes. They blazed trails and built cities that stand to this day. These were the Klondikers. This is their story, and the story of one of their most enduring monuments, Scagway, Alaska. The Indians called it Scagway, home of the north wind. Pioneer steamboat man Captain William Moore called it an opportunity. In 1887, while working for a Canadian survey expedition, Moore crossed the White Pass, a narrow notch that led over the mountains. Moore believed there was gold in the Yukon, and he was immediately convinced that the new route would give ideal access to the interior when the big strike was finally made. He envisioned a horse trail, wagon road, a railroad built through to the lakes. Moore staked out a claim, built a cabin in the dock, and waited for the big stampede. On August 17, 1896, George Washington Carmack's Skookum Jim and Tagish Charlie discovered gold on a tributary of the Klondike River in the Yukon. Word spread like wildfire through the north, and when it reached the outside world in July of 97, the rush was on. Thousands of men jammed the decks of steamships on the Alaskan Inside Passage, landing at the twin coastal boom towns of Scagway and Dyea. At Dyea, an Indian trail led over the mountains to the Chilkoot Pass. The final pitch to the summit was too steep for horses and required chopping steps out of the icy snow. 1,000, nicknamed the Golden Stairs. Everything came up on your back. At the summit, the Northwest Mounted Police checked that every stampeder had a full ton of supplies, 2,000 pounds, enough to live unaided in the north for a year. If you didn't have your outfit, you couldn't enter camp. From Scagway, the But Captain Moore's trail was advertised as fit for horses. Anyone who could afford the whopping $150 per horse could buy animals right on the beach. But the men were not horsemen. They overloaded and overworked their animals, literally driving them to death. 3,000 pack horses were killed the winter of 1897-98. Jack London remarked that their hearts turned to stone, these men on the dead horse trail. Back down in Scagway, men crowded into the city saloons and bars, and money flowed fast and loose. The setup was perfect for some enterprising outlaw to corner the action for himself. And that's exactly what Captain Jefferson Randolph Soapy Smith did. One of the West's most seasoned confidence men, Smith ran his empire from his saloon. His men out on the street operated everything from crooked shell games and roulette wheels to elaborate muggings and robberies. But Soapy rode his reign only briefly at Scagway. His men stole a hoop of gold dust from a returning miner, and the town rose up against him with vigilante justice. A gunbout on the Juneau Company Wharf settled the matter for all time, making a hero out of city surveyor Frank Reed and a legend out of Soapy Smith. Scagway got rid of Soapy, but the bigger problem of how to get the stampeders over the narrow, rocky trails remained until construction began in May of '98 on the White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad. Contractor Mike Heaney's tractor climbed the dreaded pass and down to the Yukon headwaters. But winter in the pass was a constant battleground, where blizzards buried the line in minutes. Powerful rotary snowplows were brought in to get the trains through. But the stampeders couldn't wait around for a railroad to be built. As fast as they could, they made it over the trails to Lake Bennett, where they built boats to await the spring thaw. When the ice broke in May 1898, an armada of 7,000 homemade watercraft of every description cast off. This was the last leg of their journey, 450 miles down the Yukon River, to finally reach Dawson City at the heart of Klondike Gulf. They discovered that most of the claims had been already staked out a full year earlier. After wandering through the bustle of this unlikely Muskegon metropolis, many sold their remaining outfits and bought steamboat tickets home. Others stampeded off again when gold was discovered only a few months later at Nome, Alaska. Their departure brought down the curtain on a great epic adventure. But Captain Moore's vision of Scagway was correct. The strategic wharves and the White Pass Railroad provided an economic base for the town as the gold rush ebbed. Dyea was not so fortunate. The completion of the modern steam railroad spelled the end of the Chilkoot Trail as a competitive route into the interior. This tale of two cities was a battle to the death, and today's Dyea is a ghost town of second-growth forest. Only a few crumbling vestiges remain from a city of 10,000 people at the foot of the Chilkoot Trail.
Bus coming. There's the snowblower. And there comes the train. What is it? What time is it?
Yeah.
Everybody coming on the train.
Everybody on the train.
All right.
Flip the seat.
Hi, we're here again.
All right, made it. Coming back in the
We
train.
didn't get lost. We got here.
Now for the rest of our journey this afternoon, we do ask if you have any little ones with you that you do accompany them. We prefer for their safety that they do not go on the outside of the parlor car by themselves because the train does shift and rattle a little bit. But other than that, we're ready to go. By 5 streets wide. Our summer population is just over 2,000. That trickles down in winter. Actually, by about October 2nd, that'll drop down to about 700. The first engines are just now passing our mighty power plant. You will notice it's about the size of a 2-story house. We do run on diesel during the winter months and hydropower during the summer. A little bit later, you're going to see as we get going, we're building a brand new hydropower plant that's going to make it possible for us to run on hydropower year-round. Everyone should have found a little all aboard magazine in their seat when they first went to sit down. And if you didn't, there is one located either in the front or the back of your parlor car in a little rack. Now, as we travel throughout our trip this afternoon, I'm going to be pointing out points of interest.
Here's the...
One point of interest that's not on the map is the first car and second car are now going alongside what is now City Hall. It used to be McKay School for Girls, and it lasted for a few years, and then went under. And then shortly after, the city moved in and made it City Hall. It does house our 4 police officers, our City Hall, and our 2 jail cells, which I don't believe hardly ever get used. But one that I particularly like and like to point out is the Yukon River car, and the first few cars are just now passing it. The special thing about this car is it has a bar, and it does come with a bartender, but it does have a nice price of $2,500 to take her for a spin. I have only seen her out one time so far this year. But as I mentioned, we have 45 parlor cars here. We also have 14 diesel-electric engines to help us pull those mighty cars, as well as 1 operating steam locomotive. That's old number 73. Alaska, in the Yukon, or in British Columbia, Canada. On your right-hand side. What you will notice in the very center of the Gold Rush Cemetery is a very large monument for a fellow. Well, that fellow's name is Mr. Frank Reed. He was a city surveyor who shouted out with the town villain. His name was Jefferson Randolph Smith, otherwise known as Soapy Smith. And Soapy, for those of you that have really good eyes, or especially swelled in on the camera, this burial place is on the far right-hand side, right after going past the cemetery. At the very center, well, you'll see like where our plaque area is on Mr. Frank Reed. It says Frank Reed. He gave his life to the owner of Scagway. cars on the left-hand side, you might not want to look down. We're starting to enter an area where you can really see the difficulties they had in building this railroad.
Ooh, it's out from under you here at the
This is a
bottom.
great opportunity for me to remind folks that there will be a seat exchange when we get to the top. So those of you that are sitting on the left-hand side, you might look over to the person sitting to your right, because that's where you're going to be sitting on the way down. Same for the folks on the right. Those people on the left, you're going to be sitting down on the way down. It's quite simple, actually. Everybody will stand up, switch sides, and you get the seat just a little full, and the backs will flip right on over. Brackett Wagon Road. Now, George Brackett was the mayor of Minneapolis, and he knew that there was going to be a lot of money to be made up in these hills. So he headed up here with his son. Now, he wasn't about to go up here and join the silliness of mining. He built a wagon road, and it was going to go 12 miles from Scagway all the way up to an area called White Pass City. Now, the first few cars, if you look down, you'll see a sign right there for it that says Brackett's Toll Road. For those of you that had trouble picking it out. Well, like I was saying about George Brackett, he sure made a ruckus at the railroad. Because if you notice, that road is right below where they were wanting to build the railroad. Now, as soon as we pass the George Brackett sign, you want to keep looking down on your left, because the first cars are entering what we call our whirlpool section. And the whirlpool section is where the Scagway River gets pitched into a canyon in some places no more than 10 feet across. And you can really see the water just rushing through there because we've had such amazing weather here lately. The crews down there have to clear the road so wagons can get through. And the railroad finally got so fed up with it that they paid him out for $60,000, which is quite a large sum of money for back then. Which was 1897, 1898.
I thought it was 20 miles.
That video would be nice if it was. Now, wouldn't that be the train ride that you go? You know what I'm saying?
photo plant right there. They're building a dam there first. Probably. This is awesome. This is right up into the clouds and disappear. Some of these drop-offs right beside the track are awesome. Just straight down. Hundreds of feet. Now this is going to be awesome here. To get a perspective of the height, though, I don't see any how to read weight. If nobody can watch it on the video and tell how high it is. built that there. As close as straight down can get. Hundreds of feet just straight off. Oh, now right there he is straight down. 600 feet, 700 feet, just as straight as you can go. A solid side of a rock. up. All right. The temperature is dropping, coming up as high as we're going. The temperature is dropping. That's what I got it. Beautiful. Just beautiful. About as much as you could get from the helicopter. Goes back in your delay. I imagine that's the source of their they're putting it closer to town because it's been more accessible. See there, the water coming just out of it. Straight down. Yeah, we're going up into it. I got a good view of that. I'm going to zoom in on the waterfall though. This one has 30 to 1 zoom, so there now is the beautiful water. When it fell out there, they left it. They wouldn't have tried to get it. The old railroad track over. Oh, just beautiful. We're going into the cloud.
Look at it. Yeah, you can't
First
see it.
cars are just now passing that cantilever bridge. Was this all?
We're going into the cloud. They probably got it without the fog on this video.
Look down there, Tim.
Yeah, but imagine building this.
Could you imagine going across it?
But someone to build
Engines are just now entering the bridge, the tunnel. And then the Canadian flag. And that's actually where the U.S. Customs is. Not U.S. Customs, the U.S.-Canada border. It will be on the left-hand side.
Now this is going into the Bering Sea. Yeah, this is running the other way. This goes into the Bering Sea, and on the other side of the mountain goes into the it says 90. I ain't never saw that sign yet. I'll go ahead and start it recording. I went down in on it now.
You'll hear that large Skagit liner over there blowing its horn from time to time. The reason that is it's communicating with another one up top. And they're doing quite a lot of blasting in this area. I was fortunate enough the other day to be riding by when they did set off a charge. It is quite scary. But because they are doing all the blasting around here, you're not allowed